All right, this is exponent rules, and this is video 21. This might be a little bit of a longer video, but it's kind of broken up into a couple parts, okay? So we've got 6 different rules to go over, and our first one is the multiplication rule, okay? And that one's when we have the same base to a power times the same base to another power, you can add the exponents, okay? So let's go ahead and figure out what we're doing. Okay, so we have the same base. The base is being x, and we're going to add our exponents. Your coefficients, so your numbers in front, 4 and 3, you're going to do just what normally it is. Okay, it says 4 times 3. That gives me 12. I add my exponents, so I have x to the 7th. Okay. So first, let's look at our coefficients first. 14 times 2. We've got 28. Now let's look at our x's first. So I know I'm going to have an x. I've got 2 and I've got 3, so that would be 5. And let's look at our y's. I've got 4, and here this one's a little 1. Even though it doesn't say 1, it's understood as 1. Okay, so 4 plus 1 would be 5. So 28, x to the 5th, y to the 5th. Okay, our next one. Again, just take it step by step on these problems. First you do your coefficients, then the x's, then the z's. So negative 3 times 4 would be negative 12. I've got 1x plus 3 x's, that would be 4 x's. And 2 z's and 4 z's, that would be 6 z's. Okay, so we add our exponents for multiplication. The next rule, kind of one of my favorite rules because it's super mega easy. Anything raised to the power of 0 is 1. X to the power of 0 is 1. Okay, this one, x to the 0 power is 1. So this would be kind of like 2 times 1, which is 2. Easy. Okay. This would become, y to the 0 would become 1. Okay, so let's circle this. That part would equal 1. 4 times 1 is just 4. So it's just 4 x squared z to the 3rd. Okay, and then one of my favorite ones is a problem like this. It looks super hard, but with these parentheses, this means every single thing in here is raised to the power of 0. So it's just 1. All right, moving on. Our fraction exponent rules. This one's a little difficult, okay? Fraction exponents means we're going to have some sort of root, okay? The numerator, that's the top part of our fraction, is the exponent. The denominator is the root, okay? So I think about it like this. If it's on the bottom, it gets kicked out into the front, okay? So this would be a cube root of x squared. If it's on the top, it stays on top, okay? Next one, this is going to be a square root. So instead of putting the 2, remember square roots, we don't put any number, okay? So let's just put it just for fun. We'll say y to the 5th, but what that translates to is just the square root of y to the 5th. Okay, this is the last problem. We're going backwards, okay? So remember, if it's the root, it's going to be on the bottom. If it's on top, if it's the exponent, it stays on top. All right. Okay. Next one, we're going to skip power to a power for a minute. We're going to do our negative exponent rule. All right, so if we have a negative exponent, that means we want to move it to the bottom of our fraction. If we have a negative on the bottom, we're going to move it to the top, okay? Negatives are not super proper in math, if you've found that out. So we're going to try to get rid of them. So what that means is we're going to move this x to the negative 3 to the bottom. Remember, every single thing is a fraction. You can just put it over 1. Okay, so it's kind of like we're going to move this to the bottom. So now we'd have 1 over x to the third. Okay, for our next one, just the y is to the negative second degree. So the 4 is going to stay on top. It doesn't have to go down. It's going to stay on top, and our bottom is going to move. And our y to the second is going to move to the bottom. And when you move it, you get rid of the negatives. All right, next one. Our 8 and our x, those are both to a positive exponent. So we're going to keep those. Now, our y to the negative second goes to the bottom and becomes positive, and our z to the negative third is going to move to the top and become positive. All right, and our last one, this will be 1 over 5 squared, which we know what 5 squared is. That's 1 over 25. Okay, so negative exponents move to the bottom of the fraction. All right, for our division rule, if we have the same bases, we're going to subtract the exponents. Okay, so we have x to the 7th over x to the 5th. That's going to give us x squared. Okay, this next one would give us 5 minus 7 would be x to the negative second. But what did we just learn? We don't want negative exponents. So this is going to translate to 1 over x squared. All right, for our next one, look at your x's first and then deal with your y's. So 5 minus 1 would be x to the 4th. 2 minus 8 would be y to the negative 6th. So we're going to simplify this to x to the 4th over y to the 6th. Now I've got a little trick, is wherever the bigger number is of the exponents, that's where that's going to be. Okay, so for example, 5 is bigger than 1, so my x's are going to be on the numerator. Here, 8 is bigger than 2, so my y's are going to be hanging out in the denominator. Okay, so some of you guys will probably be able to skip this step. Okay, and pretty much forward, I'm not going to show this step here anymore. We're just going to go straight to our fractions. Okay, with our last one, let's look at our coefficients first. 6 divided by 9 is 2/3. If I look at my x's, remember I've got 1 minus 7, which would be 6. So I'm going to put that on the bottom. Look at my y's. 8 minus 3 would be 5. Y to the 5th. 0 minus 5, 5. So z to the 5th. All right, now going backwards, we're going to go back to power raised to a power. We needed to know our negative rule to do all of these examples. All right, so when a power is raised to a power, you multiply the exponents. You treat everything else the same, but you multiply your exponents. So here, 4 times 5, this would be x to the 20th. Okay, now with this, you still do your coefficients the same way. This would be 2 to the 4th times x to the 3rd to the 4th. Okay, 2 to the 4th is 16. 3 times 4 would be x to the 12th. Okay, so you don't forget about those coefficients. This next one, remember this is like taking every single thing here to the 3rd power. So it's like saying 3 to the 3rd times x to the 3rd times y squared to the 3rd. Okay, so 3 to the 3rd is 27. We've got x to the 3rd and y to the 6th. Okay, now our last one, don't try to move. I would try to multiply everything and do everything you need to, and then do your exponents, okay? So this would be 4 to the negative second x. I'm going to go ahead and multiply these. Negative 2 times negative 2 would be 4, y to the negative second. Okay, now if I move my 4 squared to the bottom, that would be 16. My x to the 4th stays on top, and my y squared is going to be on the bottom. All right, so that's actually all of our exponent rules. It's really just important. You just got to practice these and kind of memorize these, because you're going to need these for Algebra 1. You'll probably need them for geometry. You'll definitely need them for Algebra 2 and beyond. Okay, so just really work hard on trying to memorize these.